Good evening, future links. Thank you for joining us tonight for our athletics information system or session. Sorry about that. My name is Todd Biddle. I'm the head counselor at Lincoln High School, and I am here to moderate tonight's information session. But most of tonight will be taken care of by our athletic director, Mr. Brent Brockie, as well as our coaches. So I'll send Brent in now, and thank you again very much for joining. We look forward to working with you next year.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brent Brockie, and I am the athletic director at Lincoln. And I want to welcome you first off, and I'm here to increase obviously our participation at Lincoln as future links. So we were excited to have you here and to hopefully address some questions as well as talk about some specifics that you will need to prepare for in the ensuing few months and leading up to the fall. This is really an opportunity to talk about all sports, but there will be some specifics that we will cover about the fall in particular. And so we do have coaches here from our fall sports that are represented, and they will be addressing you as well. So there will be an opportunity at the end for us to address questions as a whole, but there's also an opportunity for you to ask questions during this session. In our chat opportunity, basically you have the ability to chat with moderators who will be able to answer directly your questions and address any of your specific questions that you have. Please submit these and do be patient because it does take sometimes up to 30 seconds before they're able to see your question and respond to it. So we're trying to be real time, but we're not obviously exactly real time. Yeah, athletics at Lincoln in general, one of the most important things is we first off believe in creating an environment where all athletes are physically, emotionally, and mentally safe at all times. And that's in our building and in other buildings as well. And it's important that our coaches instill that, of course, in our own facilities, but also in other facilities as well. We do believe in teaching students to be responsible humans and commit to supporting them in making good choices in every aspect of their lives. And we also expect them to maintain high standards of integrity, both on and off the field and court. All right, contact information for me. If you would like to talk to me directly, the best way to get a hold of me is through email. And my email is bwbrockie, that's double K, and it's at seattleschools.org. So please feel free to email me directly if you have any questions that are not answered tonight, or that you don't have the ability to get a clear question or clear answer from your coaches. All traditional sports are offered at Lincoln. We do have varsity teams across the board. We've also offered JV and JVC teams as well, depending on the sport and the season. And that is really dependent on the number of students that are interested and that try out. So the more students that we have trying out and participating, the more coaches we can actually hire, and the more we're able to support both the JV and JVC levels. We are a part of the Metro League, and so that includes not only the public schools, but also the private schools. There are a total of 19 schools in the Metro League. So we are a part of a big Metro League, which is, incorporates Seattle all the way east, into Bellevue and extending north to the northern Seattle. Club sports are also available in our community, and they do tie into Lincoln, but not directly, in the sense that you are not going to actually be managed by anyone at Lincoln. It is an off-campus activity, and it is not the responsibility of anyone at Lincoln to facilitate that. So often they do request using fields that we share, and I'm happy to help facilitate that, but I am not in charge of that, nor is our activity coordinator, Christine, in charge of that either. But we can help and try and support you in that. The two offerings we have currently right now are Ultimate Frisbee and Lacrosse, and that's for both boys and girls as well. Eligibility. So all ninth graders, when they enter Lincoln in the fall, will be eligible to try out for any sport. There are some sports that do have cuts, and I will let those coaches explain and expand upon that. But we do have some sports that are required to cut because of the numbers. So we just don't have the space and the capability to have everyone try out to have a spot. Last year, that wasn't the case. Last year, we did have a participation model that allowed all of our athletes that tried out to make a team. Unfortunately, because of the numbers this year, we're not going to be in that situation. And again, I'll let each of the coaches discuss what their philosophy and how that will work with their particular teams. You are required to have an up-to-date physical, which means it must be updated within the last 24 months, so within the last 2 years. And that must be done by someone other than a family member and that is allowed and has the credential to actually give a physical. It must be done on an SPS form. I sign off on these and I have to, by the district, have it on their correct form for me to be able to approve you. So it's really important to get approved and be available and eligible to play. You must have it done on an SPS form. Those forms are available both on our website, on Lincoln High School, our website, and also on the district athletic website. So please look for one of those two places to get a form, a hard copy of that. You are also expected to pay for an Asb card, and that cost will be $45. And that is basically a one-time fee that allows you to participate in a sport in the fall, and also again in the winter and in the spring if you choose. But if you are planning to play a sport at any point during the year, you are required to purchase an Asb card to be eligible to participate in athletics. So Family ID is our online portal that we use, and this program is used for us to register student athletes, and it allows you to be able to upload physicals completed into your profile. So it's something that's really important for you to feel comfortable doing. Unfortunately, because of HIPAA and FERPA regulations, I am not allowed, nor is anybody else allowed to upload these physicals. You have to do it yourself. So it's really important that you're comfortable with this. If you need help and you walk along with that, I can help support you with that. And there's also other staff members at Lincoln that can help you with that process. So please feel free to call into the main number, 413-2500, and ask for help. Ask for myself, ask for someone that can help support you with uploading your physical. But that is really important, and it is something that, again, I am not allowed to do without your athlete being there literally with their password and credential and login information, or you have to do it on your own. Also, students, athletes must be registered. All the paperwork that you're required to fill out is all done through Family ID. So that includes a sign off for basically allowing your student to play and compete in athletics. It's also to allow you to be able to use the practice facilities that we use on and off campus, to use the weight room, and to be transported back and forth to and from games as well. So it also gives us contact information and any emergency contact information that we need as well. And those are mostly the forms that you have to cover. It's all e-signatures and it's all done online. So this is now open and can be completed immediately. You can sign up for a fall sport. You can also sign up for a winter and a spring sport if you choose. But I highly recommend, if you're interested in competing in a fall sport, that you sign up right away. That way our coaches can get this information and be in contact with you about what summer schedules look like, as well as fall schedules. Again, this link is available on our athletics website. So if you go to Lincoln High School and our website, you can go under the athletics tab and you will be able to find a link to Family ID. Please click on that and sign up for the 2021 version of that. Okay, logistics. Since we have no practice fields at Lincoln, we are challenged in how we are able to support our athletes. We do have locker rooms, and we do have a nice spacious area downstairs underneath of our actual gym, where we actually do have a place to house lockers, and we can put your personal items and you can keep them safe if you need to. There's also places for storage. There's also our trainer and other equipment areas. So that's all located in the gym. Practices and competitions for all sports except for volleyball, basketball, wrestling, and cheer take place in other locations though. And that includes Lower Woodland, where we do much of our outdoor competitions. So softball, baseball, cross country, soccer, both boys and girls, and sometimes football. We'll practice and compete there. Then we also have Memorial Stadium, which is where we practice and play some of our football and soccer games. We have Queen Anne Pool, where we swim and we compete for both boys and girls swimming. Girls are in the fall, boys are in the winter. We also compete at Ingram at times. We had our practices for gymnastics at Ingram last year, and SPU we used for track and field. So we have to be creative. We're definitely creating relationships throughout the community and making sure that we are utilizing all the resources that we have available to us in order to provide for our student athletes. Okay, practices. All practices except for football require a minimum of 10 full practices before you're eligible. So you have to complete those before you can play in a regular season game. There are an exception to that. If you're doing a jamboree, for example, you only need 8 practices. And again, that's a detail that your coaches can discuss with you if they have a jamboree scheduled. But for the most part, it requires 10 practices. Football is required to have 12. So, and then gymnastics is another example of one that requires actually 15 practices. So football starts a little bit early because of that, and so does gymnastics to be able to accommodate those extra requirements. No athletes are allowed to participate in Lincoln High School practices or conditioning workouts until they have been cleared by me. So you do have to have all of your information in, again, all of your registration. I get basically a confirmation that all of that's been done, and I go through and make sure that you have all your paperwork filled out, and then I also double check every physical. So every physical that gets uploaded, I'm basically able to just quickly scan and make sure that it fulfills the requirements, and then that information is secured and provided to our trainer. All right, athletes and parents need to be in communication with coaches regarding practice times and locations. So this is something that is subject to change, and you definitely want to make sure that you're in touch with your coach that you're working with during that season. High school practices are held daily, so on weekdays. We are allowed to practice on Saturdays as well. We are not allowed, based off of our district requirements and regulations, to practice on Sundays or compete on Sundays. Unless it is a certain situation. With COVID-19, there were extenuating circumstances this spring where they were thinking about letting us practice, for example, on Sundays, but that is typically not allowed or endorsed at all. There are no formal practices, clinics, or workouts that can take place before our first day of practice in the fall. The exception being to this is that we do have summer opportunities for some sports. So, and again, your particular coaches can let you know about those details. Those usually take place in June and July. Once August 1st hits, there is no competing as a team. Okay, there's no team workouts. The only thing that is allowed is kind of, sometimes there's captain's practices or something that's unofficial and that's all elective, but you are not required, and the coaches are not allowed to hold that over you in terms of you have to be there during summer workouts. That is not the case. So if you're not able to attend, that's understandable. We hope you are able to attend during summer practices if you are available, but it's not a requirement to be able to make a team. Football starts on August 19th, and all their sports start August 24th. That's for the fall. The LHS website will be updated with information as we find out more information about state and other, district playoffs. Also, I will say that all of this is subject to change. We are still getting direction from the WIAA as well as from the district, as well as from the Metro League on what we're allowed to do for summer workouts, how we're allowed to practice, and how many kids we're allowed to have together at one time. If we're allowed to do it indoors, outdoors, in the weight room. All those details are still being hashed out as we speak, and we should know more about that in the coming week or two. So please keep updated by looking at our website, talking to the coach that you're communicating with and that you're planning to play for in the fall, especially for fall sports. Okay, for coach introductions, we're going to be introducing each of the coaches that are able to attend tonight. The coach contact information is available on the slide, so if you are interested in contacting them directly, please feel free to write that down and yeah, send them an email directly. So we will have a sports-specific meeting, which is hosted by individual coaches on June 22nd. That will also be at 7:00 p.m. So please make sure to check your email for that. And there should also be a link that will be available on our website as well. So if you don't see it and don't get it in your email, reach out to the coach and make sure that you're also checking our website routinely. But we're hoping to have more up-to-date information about that and about our summer practices by then as well. That's really why we're waiting to do this until then, because we don't have the guidance yet. That's so important in giving you correct and up-to-date information. Okay, I'm going to individually introduce our different coaches for each of our sports. So first off, I will introduce Mizani. She is our cheer coach. And Mizani, you can take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry you can't see me, the whole thing. But when we have our meeting on the 22nd, that will be through Zoom. So you will be able to get a chance to see what I look like and all the great stuff. Anywho, we had a really great year to start a really great program. Next year, we're just looking to continue growing and building our competition level skills and whatnot. Tryouts information will be coming out very soon. This year, we're looking to do a varsity and a JV squad. Don't know how that's going to turn out because of COVID-19, but we shall see. And there will be cuts depending on how many people try out. Like I said, that we're looking to have a varsity and a JV squad. To try out for cheer, you have to have all of your family ID information filled out and done. It has to be done before your tryout packet is complete. That's all I have. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at the email address that is listed above, which is lhscheerprogram@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mizani. All right, next up, we have our football program, and represented by that is our head coach, Aaron Hart. So I'll let Aaron take it away.
Hello, my name's Aaron Hart. I'm the head football coach for Lincoln High School. I'm passionate about our community, our high school, and coaching our community's youth. I've lived in the Wallingford neighborhood for the past 18 plus years and have children that are currently at Lincoln High School, Hamilton Middle School, and John Stanford Elementary. We are coming off of what I consider a successful 2019 season. Success to me is that our players had a positive, fun experience while still being competitive. Our focus is on effort and attitude of our student athletes, and we have high expectations of our players as young women and young men, both on the field and off. I believe a key indicator of this success shows in the fact that a significant number of Lincoln students who did not play last season have joined the team in the off season. Our program is very safety conscious. We have a certified trainer with us at all practices and games, and our coaching staff works tirelessly on proper technique. This includes all aspects of our program, ranging from tackling and blocking to how we lift in the weight room. If a player has improper technique in any area, we continue to work with them at the level they are at until they master that skill. Only then do we allow them to advance to the next level. For the 2020 season, we will have 2 levels of play, with those being a varsity and a C team. Our C team will be composed of primarily freshmen, and they will play similar competition. We will be conducting practices starting in mid to late June. If we are unable to practice in person due to COVID, the coaching staff is planning on virtual practices. We encourage all 9th graders of all experience levels and athletic ability to come be a part of our team. We are a non-cut sport. Please reach out to me with any questions. Typically, I offer to meet families in their homes to discuss our program. Given the current climate, this is not possible. However, I'm available for virtual meetings as well as via email and telephone. Thank you. Go Lynx.
Thanks, Coach. All right. Next, we have girls soccer, and that will be represented by our head coach, Daniel J. Daniel.
Coach Ajay, you have to unmute yourself if you are muted. Sorry about that. We can't do it on our end.
Not sure if we're able to connect with Daniel. I know he was here earlier. So instead, I guess I will try and address the girls soccer team in general. The information I can provide so far, unless Daniel, are you there? Okay. The information I have that Daniel's provided me and that I can speak on his behalf about is that we had a JV and a varsity team last year. They were very competitive and very successful. If I remember correctly, they finished, basically in the middle of the pack, but did well enough to actually qualify for the playoffs and went in and gave Ballard a handful at their place, which was an awesome way for us to really represent our first season. It was a great opportunity to get some playoff experience. Of course, we had all freshmen and a few sophomores that were on our teams last year. And we went out and played them really tough. So that was really exciting. Our girls JV team as well was able to get a full season in. We were able to basically supply, I think there were about 40 girls that tried out and that competed on a consistent basis. And they kept that number throughout the year, which was also an important step in our first season. We are, I know, anticipating at least 30 more girls trying out that signed up at our kind of our team open house forum that we had earlier in the year in the spring. And so we're really appreciative of those of you that came and signed up and gave your contact information. I know Coach will be reaching out to you directly and is excited to have you guys as potential future links. So our plan is to have a JVC team this year, and we will plan to have that probably an alternate scheduling. We'll probably do something where they'll practice in the mornings and our JV and varsity will practice in the afternoons. But we are planning to have a JV, JVC, and a varsity this year. So 3 levels. And there will be cuts, most likely, because right now we're looking at probably being able to carry about 20 players per team is probably what we're looking at the most. So I'm anticipating about 55 to 60 players we will be able to maintain as on our roster. Please make sure to email Daniel if you have any questions. His email is up here. It's danielaj at hotmail.com. He also works at JAMS and is an important member of the community as one of our feeder schools. So we're really happy to have Daniel on board. He's also an assistant boys soccer coach as well. So he's highly involved in the soccer community and in our world as a links coach. So please reach out to him. All right, next we have volleyball with Coach Paula Littlewood. Take it away,
Great.
Paula.
Thanks, Mr. Brockie. It's great to be with everybody this evening in this new way that we connect during the pandemic. I know we're also joined online with our fabulous assistant coach, Robin Ware. You can tell from the picture, we carried last year a varsity, a JV, and a JVC. We anticipate this season we'll probably have 70 to 80 girls trying out for probably 36 to 40 spots. So we'll carry all 3 teams, but there will definitely be cuts. As Mr. Brockie already outlined, tryouts begin August 24th. No exceptions. If you want to play on the team, you need to be there for the week of August 24th. We'll probably do rolling tryouts, which means in the first 2 days, we'll still be placing people on teams and watching. Varsity should anticipate they'll be having 2 practices a day starting on Tuesday of that week. Varsity will also practice on Saturdays. We'll get the open gyms going as soon as we're given the go-ahead. I do want to highlight that this year conditioning will be part of the tryouts. So your players right now can be conditioning. We'll be sending out a conditioning regimen this summer, but this is a great time to be getting in shape because it will be one aspect of our tryouts this year. Our goal last season was to make it to playoffs. We ended up being 9th out of 11 in our division for the Metro League, which qualified us for playoffs. Our goal this year is to make it to the division playoffs. We did have one player who made second team all league and another teammate from varsity who was an honorable mention. So not bad for a bunch of freshmen and sophomores competing at the varsity level. Our philosophy that Coach Ware and I embrace for the team is that we are looking for the right players, not the best players. And the right players to us are the ones who work hard and have fun, the players who want to help make their teammates look good. And we embrace a very strong culture of that we are 3 squads, varsity, JV, and JVC, but we are one team, which is Lincoln Volleyball. So super excited to meet your players. And I hope you can tell from the picture there at the top, we just had a lot of fun. So looking forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Paula. All right, so that's your volleyball coach. For girls swim, we have head coach is Ryan Castle. I'm not sure if Ryan was able to join us.
Coach Castle was unable to join us, so his assistant coach Perry will actually be helping out with this one.
All right, so last year our swim team got off to a really hot start. We were really fast. We had about 20 girls or so on the team, varying levels of knowledge and experience. So we were able to split them up and really work with each group and create plans for them individually to make sure we got the most out of our practice. We actually practiced before schools at Queen Anne Pool, and then the girls were able to get on a bus after they showered and could take them back to the school. We practiced Monday through Friday with swim meets, usually Friday afternoons after school. We were able to send a relay team to districts, and this year we're hoping to be even a little faster and send even more students on to the advanced postseason.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate the insight. All right, next we have golf, and that is our head coach is Gilbert Quitlong. Gilbert, take it away.
Welcome, everyone. Hello, everyone. Golf, had a very successful first year. We ended up at 7 wins and 3 losses, and we're looking forward to building that success for next year. If you have any questions, feel free to visit me at Interbase Tuesday to Saturday. For the boys team, we're going to have some cuts because it's very popular for players to try to make the golf team. And for the girls, everyone's welcome. If they can play, they're welcome to join. Wednesdays, we have 2-a-day practice, morning practice 7, and an afternoon practice after school. I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to see me at Interbay.
Great, thanks, Coach. Yeah, and make sure if you didn't get his email, feel free to email Coach at gilbert.quitlong@gmail. Next, we have slow pitch, and that will also be represented by Coach Jordan. Jordan, explain to us what we got.
I'm super excited for us to be offering slow pitch this fall. We offered fast pitch last spring for the first time, and unfortunately, due to COVID, we got shut down before we ever had any games. Slow pitch offering in the fall is not a prerequisite for fast pitch. So if you play fast pitch, but you want to play another varsity sport, please do that. Okay, I love athletes. But if you're somebody who may be new to varsity sports and wants something that may be a little bit less competitive or in your face, slow pitch is going to be a great chance for you to come out, meet new people. We're going to have fun. We're going to learn the basics. There's only a few schools in our league that play, so we're going to be pretty familiar with them. And it's really going to be a fun atmosphere to really bring a strong community together.
Great, thanks, Jordan. The other thing I can speak to about slow pitch is that, yeah, this is brand new to us, and to our district. You know, we're really only got a couple other schools, and so if anyone joins, you know, they're going to be setting the precedent and building the program from the ground up. So really excited about that. So anyway, that's a new offering, which we didn't know about until just recently. So very glad to have that. I'm going to talk a little bit about cross country now. We are in the process of hiring a head coach. So we have that posted currently, and we are accepting applications, and we'll be doing interviews shortly, which will all be virtual, but we have done that with hiring teachers and many other positions at Lincoln. So we are familiar with being able to do that. And so we're excited to move into our second year with our cross country program. We had about 50 student athletes that played last year and competed, and they were pretty mixed. I think we had almost exactly 50-50 in terms of boys and girls participating. And so we had two solid teams, and they competed, you know, day in and day out. As you can see by the pictures down, you know, below in this slide here, we had our tents out there, and we compete mostly at Lower Woodland. That's where most of our practices occur. And, you know, what will happen is often we will do different runs throughout the community. So they're not always located necessarily at Lower Woodland, but that's our home course. And since we're so close, I think it does give us an advantage to be able to be really comfortable with your home course and knowing how to pace yourself and, you know, all the turns and different terrain that involves, you know, in doing your cross country course. So we're really looking forward to a bunch more student athletes trying out. I know we're getting another 120 uniforms just for cross country. So we're expecting to have, you know, up to 200 kids competing in cross country. So yeah, so if you're interested in doing something that is low risk in terms of commitment and in terms of experience, cross country is a great opportunity to go out, have some fun. There is not any, you know, necessary requirements or background necessary to try out, and it is a non-cut sport. So if you're interested in doing something where you feel like you can just go out there and get to know other people and have fun and participate, cross country is a great option. So hope to see you out there. Okay, so that wraps up all of our fall coaches. Thank you everybody that helped participate and explain the situation for each of your sports. Again, just to recount, we have cheer, Mazzani James McDaniel, and her contact information is there afterwards, her email. Coach for football, we have Aaron Hart. For girls soccer, Daniela J. For volleyball, Paula Littlewood. For girls swimming and diving, Ryan Castle. For both boys and girls golf, Gilbert Quitlong. For girls slow pitch, Jordan Perry. And for cross country, we will be announcing that hopefully in the next couple weeks. Okay, a couple of the previously submitted questions that I wanted to address, and I'm actually going to let Mr. Biddle address the first one, and that's about PE credit being available to student athletes. So I'll let you discuss and explain a little bit about that, Todd.
Alrighty, have to unmute myself. Thank you, Mr. Brockie. Appreciate all that great information. So we probably, if I were to count all of the questions that we get as a counseling team, this is by far the number one. How can I get a PE waiver for participating in sports? So just to be clear, rising ninth graders are all enrolled in a class called personal fitness in combination with health. The reason why ninth graders take PE or personal fitness in Seattle Public Schools is because the state requires physical education competencies. That's what they're called. It's a test that is embedded into our personal fitness class. Once a student completes that class, so all of the ninth graders are enrolled in that class. Once a student completes that class, he or she can submit a PE waiver if they either participate in one of our school sports, a club sport, or an outside sport that competes or meets at least for 80 hours in a semester. Now, the only group of students who are currently as ninth graders deferring PE for at least a year are students that are in 2-year length electives, being world language and music. Those are the only opportunities for students to forego taking PE as a ninth grader, regardless of the athletics that you're involved in.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Biddle. That made it very clear. If you have further questions, again, you can follow up with myself or Mr. Biddle about that as well. There are forms and there is a process to go through, and those are just outside of his office when we actually get to enjoy going back to school and visiting your office, Mr. Biddle. So thank you. A couple of the other questions that we have seen that are consistent in terms of responses from our survey. One was how the phased reopening of the state affects fall sports. And it's a really important and good question. I wish I had a better answer momentarily for that. I know I can say at the moment, we are waiting for some direction from the WIAA. They are the ones that basically regulate and manage the rules and the regulations for all sports in the state of Washington. And so you're more than welcome to jump on their website. They do try to update it pretty regularly, although I will say it's a pretty slow website, and it doesn't always have, it's not always as user-friendly potentially as maybe our website or, looking at the school websites will be. So I would recommend just keeping in touch, with both the district website and with our website, keeping in touch with your coaches about how this will reopen. But I know that we're looking at probably in phase 3 of actually being able to allow fall sports to occur and practice. And that's not just fall sports, but it's also winter sports and also spring sports. So I have given the opportunity of all sports to practice if we are allowed to during the summer. The summer months, basically the summer season starts actually today. It's right after Memorial Day weekend every year, because that's when our state playoffs are for our spring sports. So the regulation is once those are over, you're allowed to participate and begin your summer workouts. I know last year, for example, football had workouts in June, and that was their plan to do that this year. That's not happening this year. So things are changing and they're in flux as we speak. Decisions are being made this week and next on what we're doing going forward, but this is all very much a fluid situation. And unfortunately, I don't have a great answer in terms of what the result will be on how fall sports will be affected. But what I will tell you is that we will try and post that information on our website. I also have a tab under athletics for all of the teachers. There's actually an athletics tab, which I update. I try and update every other week or so on new information about athletics. So feel free to reference that, and I'll try and keep that up to date with information as I know it. So that's the best answer I can provide at the moment. Transportation is provided for all off-campus practices. So that happened last year when we were planning to do, we did it for football. We went to Memorial Stadium 3 days a week, most weeks. We also traveled. We were planning to travel down to, we traveled back from the pool every morning. So we had practices at Queen Anne Pool, and both the girls and boys team actually had a route bus that brought them back to Lincoln in the morning, provided them transportation back. We also did that for track and field in the morning when we practiced at SPU. We were planning to do that for tennis once we broke our varsity and JV teams up, and we were going to actually have 2 different locations for our varsity and JV tennis teams. So there's a lot of different sports because of our challenges on fields and space that do require us to have transportation, and that is something that we do provide. If it's in the morning, I will say often we do require families to transport their student athlete to the location, but they will be transported back to Lincoln. So that's the one caveat, is that sometimes we do ask families to be able to transport their student athlete to practice in the morning. The sports that will be cut sports, just to review, are football. I'm sorry, not football. Football is not a cut sport at this point. We have, some interest, and we're trying to build our program as much as possible. So at this point, for the near foreseeable future, football is not a cut sport. Cut sports are cheer, potentially, depending on the number of people that are interested in trying out, volleyball, and also girls soccer. So that's the sports that will be cut sports in the fall. In the winter, I can anticipate that boys basketball will be. I don't foresee any other sport being a cut sport, with the possibility if we get a huge, sign up for gymnastics, we may not be able to support enough gymnasts to be able to support a JV. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And then in the spring, the only sport that I can think of at this point that would be a cut sport is potentially boys soccer. We are anticipating having a JVC team next year, in the spring. So I anticipate we will have a varsity JV and JVC team. We had about 45 players that tried out this spring. And if we get another 30 freshmen, for example, we may have to cut. Those are the only sports I anticipate at this point, but I don't know for sure, and it really depends a lot on participation and signups. And then the final question, how registration and involvement in club sports work. So the registration piece, we can help facilitate that. If you're interested in trying to sign up for a club sport that is off campus, that is something, for example, with lacrosse or with ultimate frisbee, then feel free to email me and I can help direct you to the person that is, coordinating that and the point person for that particular sport. But it's not done through Lincoln and it's not done at Lincoln. Club sports are, again, just members of our community that are playing and they're a part of a group outside of the actual school and facilitated by somebody else.
Hey, Mr. Brockie, lots of good questions have come in, and we have a couple of moderators that have answered most of them. Okay. But one question did come in that we wanted to get your take on, and that was better movie, Space Jam or Sandlot? That was definitely one of the questions we need a good answer for. So
I will give you a good answer for that, because I was at the University of Washington when Space Jam was filmed, and I was almost an extra in it. Because I was playing baseball, I wasn't able to actually become an extra. And I asked my coach and he said, absolutely not. You're not missing practice to be in a movie. So I don't know if that spins it in a positive or a negative for me. I did enjoy Michael Jordan and I certainly appreciate, Space Jam, but I got to go with Sandlot because Sandlot is my passion. I'm a baseball player at heart, and I love the game. And so Sandlot and Killing Me Smalls, I mean, that's famous. So got to go Sandlot.
Okay, so I think all of the other questions have been answered. Thank you so much. There might be a couple more questions that came in. Mr. Brockie, do you know, will boys golf need to cut players or can beginners join? And we'll also publish this to be answered in the chat.
It's a good question. I know Gilbert talked a little bit about it. It's pretty competitive in terms of the current and our returning players that are coming back. We had one qualify for state and we had multiple qualify for districts. So I know that we have some really strong golfers. We did have just a varsity team most of the year, so we are able to have a JV team as well. So I would say that it's worth trying out. And I also would not encourage you, if you haven't played golf before, to go out and buy a bunch of equipment before you try out though. So, try it out, see if you like it, go to the range. It's one of those sports that we can participate in now with our restrictions in our society. So if you get a chance to go out and play a little bit, I recommend doing that, getting yourself ready to compete for a tryout position.
Okay, it looks like most of the questions have been answered and published. So we will stay on for a couple more minutes to see if any more questions come up. Mr. Brockie, thank you very much. If you want to go over your last slide, and then sure. I think we're good to go.
Okay. So if there's anything that has been unanswered that you would like to get answered, again, you can email the coach directly. Hopefully you have that contact information. If you don't, or if you want to email me directly and it's something about either the program or Lincoln in general, athletics, a philosophy, anything that's broader, and more general, feel free to email me directly. And again, my email is B as in boy, W, Brackie, full last name, BRAKKE @seattleschools.org. And I'm happy to address that. I'm also happy to help address and provide any more information about cross country. I know that there are cross country workouts. I forgot to mention this during the breakout session about coaches, but there was a plan we had in place last summer, and I expect that we will have something this summer in terms of individual running assignments and other things to keep active and make sure that you're prepared for the season in the fall. So that will be to come.
Mr. Brockie, one question came in that the moderators don't know the answer to. So can you tell us if the girls basketball coach is projected to be back next year?
From what I know, he is. We are still working on a few details about our schedule and how that's all going to play out. So one of the things that is a challenge is that he is actually in Tacoma and travels all the way up from Tacoma to be our coach. And so that's a big commitment for him. I'm working with him on trying to make a schedule work, but I'm also really wanting to make sure that we provide equity between our boys and girls programs, which means that they have equal access to the gym after school, which means that we need to offer 2 days a week for girls to be able to practice right after school. And that was not the case last year. We only practiced 1 day after school right away for the girls. So that will be a change. And if the coach is able to accommodate that, then we are happy to have him back on board. And his name is Marcus Scott. So yeah, we did it. He was the only one to get a win in our gym last year, by the way. We had our boys and girls teams for basketball had some great battles, but he actually pulled off the last game at home. We played against Rainier Beach and we beat them at home, their JV. So that was really exciting.
Thank you for being so transparent and answering that question, Mr. Brockie. That's always appreciated. One question came in and we didn't address this is timing for specific sports. And the question was actually about club sports. Are there different seasons for club sports? And if so, can you tell us what time of year those might fall, if we know?
It's a good question. I wish I knew a little bit more about how they're scheduled. I don't have a lot of the specifics in terms of the dates, but I do know that, for example, that Ultimate Frisbee does offer, I know, a season in the fall. I am pretty sure that the girls and the boys alternate. So the girls, and I can't remember if the girls are in the fall or if the boys are in the fall. I want to say that it's boys and then the girls are in the spring, but I know that they are opposite. For lacrosse, my understanding is that lacrosse has a co-ed season and I think it's a girls season in the spring. So I know that there are offerings, but most of them are in the fall and in the spring for both ultimate and for lacrosse. You would have to look though specifically, or we would have to reach out directly to those contacts to find out the actual dates on that. It's a good question.
Okay. I think there's a couple more questions, and maybe I'll just ask you instead of us typing them in.
Sure.
With 3 girls soccer teams, how will practices work? There's conflicts with Hamilton trying to share the same field space at Lower Woodland. How did we deal with that this year?
It's a great question. We didn't do a great job with dealing with it because Hamilton did not get a chance to practice most days. So we're trying to work with them. We are very aware that Hamilton is a partner. They are a feeder school for Lincoln, and I know how important it is. I've worked with David Evans, the athletic director there, and I'm very interested in developing an ongoing relationship where we're helping support them and their programs because it's going to affect us ultimately, and it's the right thing to do as well. And they have typically and historically used Lower Woodland as their field as well. So the plan is that JVC, at least this is the tentative plan, JVC will practice in the mornings, probably 3 or 4 times a week, and then JV and varsity will practice in the afternoons. Depending on how it works out with football practices as well and other teams that request it, it all has to go through the district in terms of the requests. So I don't have all that information currently at my fingertips, but I will say that Hamilton is probably going to share our field a couple days a week, or the Lincoln field that we're assigned. And so we will actually share a field for probably on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if my recollection is correct. Those are the days they're allowed to practice. So my understanding is that there will be a much more of a partnership going forward with our soccer teams.
Okay, Mr. Brockie, there was a question, and I'm going to answer part of it before I send it over to you, and that was when we post the presentation on the website, can we also send the a slide that shows the FAQs? So at least the presentation. So I will, since I'm officially the host, I have to download the recording tonight. It will literally take all night. So we definitely won't be able to get that up till tomorrow at the earliest. But Mr. Brockie, maybe you could talk to where that will be and if we can collate some of the questions and answers. Is that something you're okay with in posting on the athletic website or anything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's very doable. What I'll have to do is try and figure out which questions I think are most important and relevant and haven't been answered either in this forum or that we don't have an answer for yet. Because I don't want to speak out of turn as well. So there are a few questions, of course, relating to summer practices and to fall schedules and all those pieces that we just don't have a lot of answers yet for. But with the exception of that, I should be able to collate the questions that are most commonly asked and that are most relevant. And we should be able to post that. My plan would be to post that both on my tab under the athletics for all of the teachers. And so that would be a one place to post that. And then also on just our general website as well. And I'll work with our webmaster in getting that taken care of and making sure that's up.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Brockie. I think that all of the questions have been answered. Mr. Brockie, one more time, if you could give your email address, that would be helpful. I'll go back one slide too if you want to. Oh, it's not on that slide. Go ahead and give your email address, please.
Sure, it's B as in boy, W Bracke, BRAKKE at seattleschools.org. So BW Bracke at seattleschools.org. Case sensitive is not important, and there's no underscores or anything else.
All right. Thank you again for coming. Mr. Brockie, I'll let you say your goodbyes, and then we will end this meeting. We had quite a few people watching, so we appreciate you coming. We look forward to serving you next year. We look forward to next year's class joining us, and go Lynx.
Thank you so much, Mr. Biddle. It's a pleasure to address all of you future Lynx, and we're very excited to have you as prospective student athletes and members of our community. So I really want to appreciate and thank you all for participating and joining us tonight to hear more about our programs and what plans we have as a overall school, as well as some of the specifics that hopefully we were able to answer directly tonight. Again, as you come up with more questions and have more specific questions about either the program that you're interested in or generally athletics at Lincoln, please feel free to reach out to either a specific coach or reach out to myself. And if you don't know the coach's contact information, you can always reach out to me directly, and I will happily forward that information on to you. We're all about participation and about at this point, we're still pretty young, and we're only going to have juniors and half a junior class at that. So winning is not on the top of our list as priority, But I think certainly being competitive is important to all of our coaches, and we're trying to develop that kind of program with the caveat that we are really about participation and about growing students that are respectful and responsible members of the community, and who want to participate and represent their school. So looking forward to meeting you all further. Thank you so much for attending.